Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for another tutorial in Cricut Design Space for cookie stencils. We are going to be bridging Hello World and the details on this arrow. So let's go ahead and get started. The image is from the Cricut Library. So on the left side panel, we're going to click on Images. And you can see I've typed in at the top here, Hello World. And this is the image that I was using. I'm going to add that to the canvas. Okay, then I'm going to make this really big, just take up my whole screen so that I can see it really well when I'm placing my bridges. And again on the left side panel, click on Shapes and bring in a square or a rectangle, either one, because we're going to end up making a rectangle out of it. And then I unlocked this bottom corner of it, the little lock that you can click on and open and close that lock. We want it open so that it's not always the same shape. I can make it to whatever size I want, and I can even change the proportions of it. All right. So I'm going to change that to a different color because my design is black, so I want to be able to see it really well. And so I just choose a bright color there. This is just for the purposes of being able to see it really well. And I'm going to make that smaller. So what we need to do with bridging, you can see that the background all around this is white. And anywhere that your black interferes with the white flowing. So for instance, inside this letter E, this white inside the letter E is not touching the white on the outside of the E. And it needs to be so that when this cuts out, the middle of this E doesn't fall out. Same with the loops in the H, the two L's, and then also these two center pieces of the O. Because these white pieces are not touching the white around them, those pieces will just fall out and you'll lose that detail if you're trying to cut in plastic. So we're going to bridge every area that is a closed off space where the white does not meet the outside white. We're going to use the slice tool and we'll just get started and you'll see how it works. I'm going to go ahead on the top right hand side over here in our layers panel. I'm going to duplicate that so that I have an extra and they'll all be the same size. And I'm going to sort of place this up. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in there. There we go. Place this right up against the long side where you can see that this bottom left corner is probably cutting in ever so slightly into the H, and I don't want it to do that, so I moved it over a little bit. That looks better. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a test. Clicking on my yellow piece as well as my design, the bottom right hand corner, the layers panel here, the slice button is lit up, and that's the button we're going to use, slice. And then to check it, I'm just going to move this out of the way. And that looks like a nice, clean, open space. It doesn't look like it destroyed the long side of the H here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move that back. With the undo button, I just moved it back. Over in the layers panel, we're going to get rid of all our trash pieces. And for every slice, you're going to have 3 trash pieces. So there's one highlighted, and I'm going to hold the shift key down and select the next one. And then also this black piece is a trash piece. So we'll have these 1, 2, 3 slices every time we slice. I'm going to go ahead and throw those in the trash can up here in the top right, the delete. And then with my extra one that I made, let's see, click on that over here. Where is that? I think it's off to the side of my stuff. Yeah, there it is. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just make several of those, make a few so that I have them. And if you're going to be making this in plastic for scraping icing on, then this top piece right here, ideally you would like that also connected to the white, because otherwise this white piece here creates a flat that your scraper can get caught on and it'll bend up your stencil. So I'm going to go ahead and just place one up at the top there also. and open up this to the space on the outside of the white. I'm trying to get it as perpendicular to this other line as possible so that it's a thin piece. And I've got that selected, holding down the Shift key, going back over to the bottom and clicking the slice tool. Move my design. That looks like a nice clean cut. So I can either go, I'm going to move this, I can move this back, or leaving it there, I can just draw a box around that and get rid of all three of those pieces either way. Placing the next one, and I'll make a couple more while I'm at it. Every time I'll just make a few so that I can make sure that I get them all the same size. And if you run into a piece, for instance, like this part of the E, I'm going to need this one a little bit shorter so that I'm not cutting into the other pieces of the E. So I'm going to unlock that corner, but I want to use at the top toolbar, I'm going to use this sizing function up here so that I don't accidentally make this thinner. I only want to make it shorter. So on the height, I'm just going to hit the down button till I get that to a good height where I can cut all the way through my E. And reposition that. Let's try, that's a little bit. I am going to have to make this one a little bit thinner so that I'm not slicing it. Let me make it a little bigger and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I were to slice with it too big, it's going to take a weird chunk out of my E as it dipped into the sides over here, and it just looks weird. So I'm going to undo that and make this thinner so that I don't end up cutting slices into my E in weird places. Unlocking, making it thinner, and then again, just trying to find a good position. You could also, some people will just put just to make it easy, they'll put their bridge just out here so they don't have to worry about nicking part of it, but I like to keep it up close to another edge. Just for looks purposes, of personal preference, you can really bridge it anywhere as long as you're opening the space. All right, let's see what that one looks like. So with my Shift key down and the yellow rectangle chosen, choosing my design and clicking on slice. And that's a pretty clean cut. You can see a tiny little bit, it sticks out right here, but you will not be able to see that in your cut. So I would leave that as is. Let me get rid of the trash pieces. So again, I'm holding the Shift key down and clicking on these three pieces over in the layers panel. And I'm gonna right click on my design and move it to the back, send it to the back so that I can grab these yellow pieces. There we go. That one I'll just leave right where it is. Put this one here. Put one at the top of there, just like we did on the H. And then I'll duplicate a couple more. So this will be, most of the time is not because it's difficult to do this. It's just how perfectionist you're going to be about placing them up next to something, or if you're just going to take one through the side of a letter like this E where I showed you a minute ago. Okay, let's see. Let me go ahead and place the O right there, and I'll need one at the bottom part of the O as well. So I'm just going to go one by one. And here's another way you can do this, but I will show you. Let's see. Let's click on each of these rectangles. not this extra one. I didn't click on that one. And we're going to weld all those together. Now I can use the weld result as well as my hello with the shift key down again and slice. And it will slice all of those at one time. The only reason I don't typically do that with my tutorials is because for a beginner, if you missed that you didn't get one exactly where those are all pretty clean, but say that one of these was cutting into the side of one of your letters and you didn't catch it, you can't undo welds once your design has been saved. So I typically don't do it that way, but those actually worked out, so I'm going to leave them. And I need to duplicate this again and put one at the bottom of this L. Turn it just so. There we go, a little bit more. And shift, select, and slice. And I'm going to draw a box around that, get rid of that. Now, I would like to clean this one up. It has that jagged edge. You probably would never see that on your cookie, but just for the sake of showing you how to clean that up a little bit more, I'm going to choose like an oval here and make it really small. I'm unlocking the corner, making it really thin so that it'll fit into that space. Also turning that yellow again, just so I can see it real well. And I'm just going to get it right up against this. Shift key, select my hello, and slice. And it just cleaned up that little piece that jagged piece that was on the edge. And let's right click, send to back, bring this guy down here. All right, so we need to do this O. Again, this white piece is trapped in here. It has no access to the outside white, so we're going to give that some bridges, duplicate, and get another one at the bottom. Duplicate, we'll need to do the same thing for the R. And for the R, I'm going to put one of them up and down, but I'm going to bring the other one sideways right here. Again, just personal preference. You could, if you wanted to put one bridge in this and only bridge it like this, you could do that. Again, you could get a little bit of a piece right here that might get caught on your scraper if you're using icing. If you're airbrushing, not a problem. Bring that back over here. And then we need to do the D. And when I was playing with this earlier, I noticed there's kind of a little bit of a inside hump on this D. So I can't just make one big long straight line in there, or it's going to cut off some of the design element, if you will, of the shape of my D. So I'm just going to do two of these so I can angle them differently. Instead of one straight long line, I'm just going to make two separate ones so that I can angle them a little bit off. All right, so go ahead and I have one of those chosen at the bottom of the D, and I'm going to click on my Hello World and slice. Now I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of these from the Layers panel, clicking on all three with the Shift key, grab my Hello World, grab a rectangle, slice. Let's see, one of these rectangles I want to duplicate so that I have it for bottom down here. All right, get rid of my trash pieces, and I'll grab a different one and my slice result now, which is my Hello World, and throw away the trash, 3 pieces. And then we'll move to the next rectangle. I'm just doing all of this from the Layers panel now, just looking at what's over here. delete. And this is the bottom of the O with my hello world. And get rid of these 3 trash pieces. And then let's zoom out a little bit and take a look at what we have. So we still have the one at the top of the O to do. That's this guy. Somewhere along the line I deleted my extra, so let me duplicate that. And grab the rectangle at the top of the O, my slice result, and slice. Throw these 3 pieces of trash away. So each of our letters that are all these loops, H, E, L, L, 2 of them in the O, this opening in the big O, opening in the R and the D, all of that is complete. It is all bridged. Now we have all of these pieces. There are 4 on either side of the bottom of here where the arrow is. That needs to all be opened up, or else if you want that inside detail to be like that. If you don't care if it's all solid and all falls out as one shape, you could leave it just like it is. If you want these little pieces to be part of your design and part of your detail, then we're going to need to bridge them. So for these, I don't care if they're the exact same width bridging as the letters above. I only care that they are equal to each other. So I went ahead and unlocked this corner so that I can make this longer. I'm probably going to need it a little skinnier as well. Let me turn it and bring it over here closer. I'm going to right click on hello, send it to the back so that I can have that in front. And again, we will zoom in. Zoom in real nice and tight so that we can make sure we get this a really good placement. We're doing like 4 places all at once. Okay, place that and duplicate that guy so that we have exactly the same size on both sides of this design. And let's angle this just a teensy bit different. Let's try that. All right, so I've got one of these held right now. See, it's lit up in the layers panel, and then I'm going to grab the design, click on that, and click slice. And before I do anything else, I want to look at that one. So I'm going to pull it down. That looks pretty good because this isn't a completely straight angle without taking a big chunk out of either end. I'll clean this little tiny piece up here in a minute because I'm as good as it's probably going to get. Slice it. Let's get rid of the trash pieces. All 3 of those. And then grab this other rectangle in my hello world and slice. And then let's move that out of the way. That again is a pretty clean cut, so let's just trash all these pieces. And then now we can go back and clean up this little piece here. Shapes. Let's get that skinny, oh no, let's not an oval, let's get something flat. I'll just get this little rectangle down here again. Unlock the corner. We're going to make it super skinny to fit inside this area down here. So that we can just clean up that little piece right there. Shift key and grab the hello world. Let's see what that looks like with the slice. There we go. That's cut off of there. Now, I don't really care for how the bottom centerpiece looks on here. So if it were me, I would probably do one of 2 things. I would bring in either let's see, this has a rounded edge square. I would probably bring this in here and let me change the color on that. And play with it a little bit on my best, seeing if I could get this to match up to the edge just right. A little bit bigger, it looks like. A little bit bigger. So you could do one of two things here. I am just adding a little piece on the end. You could also, let me duplicate this guy. You could simply come in here and cut the bottom off just to make it straight. And I would just come right to the edge where it's not straight, grab the design and slice. So now at least it's a straight line. And then if you don't like that look, let me move that to the back again so I can grab this. Send to back. Yeah. You could bring this all the way out past even your design if you wanted to. I wouldn't really take it much further than the edge of whatever your W is, but you could bring it out a little bit. Let's just see what that looks like. So I have the shift key down, grabbing the world, and I'm going to weld that because now I'm at the end of my project. And again, this is a teensy little bit smaller right here than the edge of the rest of the design, but you will not see that in the final result in your cookie. So we've got all of these spaces are open, and you can now, again, if you're going to scrape on these, this design is just going to get crashed if you keep placing bridges in the top, like how we did at the top of the E's and the L's and the O. This element down here will be crashed if we keep doing that. So you'll have to be careful if you're going to use icing and scrape over these little pieces right here. But that is how to bridge Hello World with a design element arrow. If you have any questions, place them in the comments. Thanks for joining me.